What's going on, everyone? So this upcoming Scream 7 is set to center around Sidney Prescott once again. A lot of that is because Melissa Berrera, Jenna Ortega, both departed from the franchise. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Melissa Berrera situation. I'm not going to dive into that again. If you know, you know. If not, look it up, right? But one of the things that happened was shortly after Melissa Berrera departed, Jenna Ortega left as well. And there were also questions about, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Mason Gooding. Ultimately, they ended up returning to the franchise. They're reprising their roles as the Meeks twins in this upcoming installment. But it kind of looked like, okay, this is the end of the core four. This is the end of that iteration. You're going to be centered around Sidney, her family, her daughter Tatum. How are they going to approach this? What's going to be the story? And kind of word was going around that, Jenna Ortega, she didn't leave because of the Melissa Berrera situation. She left because of, pay and, scheduling and all these other things, right? There was these several narratives that were kind of going around. And a lot of people were disappointed. The ones that supported Melissa Berrera, were very disappointed. Those that didn't were like, it doesn't matter either way. You kind of still, in a lot of ways, have these two camps in regards to this upcoming Scream 7. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But Jenna Ortega finally spoke up and talked about kind of why she ended up leaving, and that it didn't have to do with scheduling or pay conflict, that it appears it was just everything was starting to fall apart, which she's not wrong, right? Melissa Berrera ends up leaving. Everything's kind of up in the air with Jasmine Savoy Brown and Mason Gooding, so it looks like they're probably not going to return, right? You lose radio silence, so now you have a new director, and they went through, and got Christopher Landon. He ends up departing from it, and then they end up getting Kevin Williamson, who ultimately directed and was at the helm for this installment. But, there was a stretch and a time where it was like, is this even going to happen? Right? There was a stretch in a time where it's just like, dude, like Scream 7 is becoming a dumpster fire, right? Like everything's departing. And that appears to be why Jenna Ortega left. She said herself, like everything is falling apart. It just made sense to kind of get out why she can. But to kind of quote her in the recent interview, she says, "It had nothing to do with pay or scheduling," Ortega said. The Melissa stuff was happening, and it was all kind of falling apart, right? If Scream 7 wasn't going to be with the team of directors and those people I fell in love with, then it didn't seem like the right move for me in my career at that time, she added. She's been very supportive of me, and we're sisters for life in regards to Melissa Berrera, right? So, couple things, right? Now, first off, it's good to get some clarification, right? It's good to finally hear from her. Because again, there was all these kind of rumors and, again, you kind of have these camps of people that are just kind of like, anybody that supports this film is bad, right? And, people are disappointed in Jasmine Savoy Brown and Mason Gooding and all that stuff. Hey, look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm not here to be a drama, just kind of give the information, right? But it's good to kind of hear from Jenna Ortega, kind of her stance and how, like, hey, I did the Scream film, right? We did these two films and I did it with this group, right? I wanted to continue to do it with the group, right? There are questions of like, okay, because I see a lot of people that are like, so it did have to do with Melissa Berrera. She didn't directly say that, right? She said the Melissa Berrera stuff happened and everything was starting to fall apart. And then she also goes and adds that the directors left and all that stuff. So like, what happens if the Melissa stuff happens, but the director, like what if radio silence is still there, right? Does she still do these films, right? I'm sure it had in part to do with that, but she didn't say like, as soon as they did what they did to Melissa Berrera, I left, right? A lot of people are kind of taking this and, using it as that, but that's not what she said. Again, the words are right there. She said, she does mention the Melissa Berrera stuff and says that like that was starting to happen and everything was falling apart and radio silence left, which I believe they left before the Melissa stuff happened, right? So it was just kind of like, hey, I don't think that this is best for my career with everything that's going on, me just kind of waiting around. Because again, there was points where it didn't even look like we were going to have a Scream 7. So I get if Jenna Ortega's like, I don't want to wait around. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, right? But I don't have the people here that I were in support with and the people that I love, right? Melissa, I'm sure in part it was like, she wants to stick up for her girl, right? Like she says in the interview, right? That, we're sisters. We've been very supportive of each other, right? So I'm sure that there were several parts, but the big question is like, if the Melissa thing just happened, Radio Silence was still at the helm, everything was moving forward, right? Mason and Jasmine come back, right? If basically everything but Melissa was involved, does she leave, right? Does Jenna Ortega stick around? Does she end up becoming the face of Scream? I mean, a lot of people wanted that back in Scream 5, right? A lot of people forget, like, wasn't that long ago where Melissa Berrera was, being criticized for her acting in Sam, and people did not like the consensus was that Sam was not good, was not a good character, and make Jenna Ortega the star, and make Jenna Ortega the face of Scream, and she's the one that should be it and that stuff, and she's kind of the rising star, and then she goes and gets Wednesday and all this stuff. Scream 6 is when everyone kind of came around to Melissa Berrera, and everyone was kind of like, oh no, she was great as Sam in that film, which, in my opinion, goes to the writing. I've been very critical of the writing of Scream and just the character development and things like that, right? Like, in Scream 6, Melissa got more of an array as an actress, where, Scream 5, and why I defended Melissa Berrera as far as Sam in Scream 5, right? Like, she was the way she was because of the medication and her psychosis and all that stuff, right? Like, they tried to have her really lean into like this sort of plain bagel kind of stoic character, where in Scream 6, you got to see her have a little bit of more emotion. You got to see her have a little more array, a little more build up in her character. So, that's why I was defensive of it. Like, hey, an actor only has what they have, or an actress only has what they have to work with, right? They can't like just, go rogue here, right? Like, you have to stay within what the source material is, right? So I thought, given the circumstances of Scream 5 and, the direction they were trying to go with their character, I thought she played it well, right? And then you get to Scream 6, and then you got to see what she was. So people kind of came around to Melissa Berrera in that next stint. Would I have loved to see Melissa Berrera and Jenna Ortega and the Core 4 do another Scream film? Sure, right? Like, I would have been all for kind of seeing the conclusion and how are they going to wrap up this trilogy and how are they going to finish this and whatnot. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. You got Sidney back into the fold, and we're going to have another Scream film. And, I'm excited for that Scream film, and I wish the best for all parties. Jenna Ortega, Melissa Berrera. I mean, Melissa Barrera's got projects coming up and stuff like that. So, she's still, hitting the ground running and having success. And, it's just, again, there's all these camps and all this just, again, at the end of the day, everything worked out for everybody, right? You got to get a Scream movie. Like, peace, love, and let's just enjoy this upcoming film. And, if you're in support of, the particular actress or something, then yeah, support their next film, support their next installment. You know what I mean? Just a lot of divide, right? In the Scream fandom, which is crazy to me. But nonetheless, again, don't want to dive into the drama too much, right? Just wanted to kind of clarify, give the information and update in regards to Jenna Ortega and her clarifications on just kind of the whole situation, because it's good that we finally got that. But as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Where are you as far as this goes? What's your opinion on this matter? Wanted to kind of keep it neutral, so that way, we get it from both sides. So, I want to hear all perspectives, all opinions, rather than here's this, that, the other, right? Just wanted to give you guys the information and hear your thoughts down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.